What's up guys, welcome back to Toon Duelists.
Today we're gonna have a little discussion about the new ban list that just dropped, and today is the first time two people of the Toon Duelists are recording a video together, so let's dive into the video. Alright, so the first card we're gonna discuss today is the Fiendsmith Lacrima card. This card is banned now. It was on 3 before, and we were surprised by the ban because it just got released in info, but I think the ban is justified because of the burn damage that it inflicts to your opponent, and I think that effect was just unnecessary because it was useful when you go into time at locals or whatever, and you didn't have to side any other burn cards anymore, and you were able to consistently burn your opponents, so I think it makes sense that it's on the ban list now.
Yeah, definitely. It's still surprising it gets hit so soon, like it was just released basically. So, but you know that this just shows how powerful the Fiendsmith engine is if they ban a just released card this quick. And yeah, but as you just explained, definitely a good hit and necessary. Yeah, next one, Beatrice, Lady of the Eternal. Definitely the Fiendsmith hit we all expected, I think. I mean, you can just Foolish Burial or Foolish Burial Goods with 2 cards, one in your turn, the next one in your opponent's draw phase. Insane card. The only reason it wasn't banned before is, I think, because the rank 6 was kind of, yeah, something not every deck could do, but with the Fiendsmith engine, basically every deck has access to this card, and name me one deck that doesn't benefit from dumping 2 cards into the grave. So this was the Fiendsmith hit I personally definitely expected, and that was needed, so Fiendsmith won't be splashed in just any deck.
Yeah, not much to add to this. Basically, it was clear that this card is gonna get banned, and it's a good ban. Alright, next up we have Apollousa. In my opinion, Apollousa was a much needed ban, and there was a pattern too, because Baron and Borrelode just got banned with the last ban list, and this one here, Apollousa, is also just negate that is very, very general, like you can basically play it in every deck, and therefore it had to go. If a card is being played in every deck, then it's just too much. It's not good for the game.
Yeah, definitely. You see a pattern here, you know, Borrelode Savage Dragon and Baron got a reprint in Rarity Collection 1 and got banned. Apollousa got a reprint in Rarity Collection 2, got banned too. So there's a pattern here, and Konami wants to get rid of those generic boss monsters. But I'm not so sure if this is actually that good of a hit, because you see, take my scrap deck profile for an example. Definitely not a great deck, but with Baron, with Savage, and with Apollousa, it was able to like compete. But without those generic boss monsters, it won't gonna stand up to Snake Eyes or something like that. So I'm not really sure if it's a bigger hit for the meta decks, or if it's a bigger hit for the rogue decks that, yeah, just try to compete.
In my opinion, it is a bigger hit for the meta decks because they get this card out more consistently, and on top you also have already a very strong end board, and then on top you have an Apollousa. It's just too much, and it makes weaker decks almost impossible for them to play through a Snake Eyes board or to play against Snake Eyes. So to me this was a very good hit, and I think the meta decks have more of an impact, like they got worse because of this hit rather than the rogue decks. I don't think the hit was that bad for rogue decks. I can see what you're saying with the rogue decks not being able to put up a strong end board anymore, but in my opinion it's still a bigger hit for the strong meta decks.
Yeah, I mean, you know, on one hand, of course you're right. On some types, I mean, Snake Eyes plus Apollousa plus Baron is way harder to beat, but it kind of breaks down the decks to the archetypes only. So the only thing that matters now is how good is the archetype. Because if this trend goes on and you lose other generic boss monsters, the decks will only be able to compete if the archetype itself can compete with each other. You know what I'm saying? So if you just have a better archetype, you basically win. That's a good thing on one hand, though, because I love playing pure decks, and with cards like Barone, Savage, or Appaloosa, often it's just like you play a little engine to end on one of those, and that's it. So I can see something good in this ban, but I'm still not sure.
I think it also opens a door up for Konami to reprint, or not to reprint, but to create new boss monsters for some archetypes. Like your scrap deck, it might get new support, a new boss monster that's being played in the extra deck that is similar to like an Appaloosa or something like that, because now you're not playing the Appaloosa and the Baron and stuff like that anymore, so now they can give you cards, and they don't have to keep printing stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger cards, because in that spiral eventually the one that starts wins the game, and that's not how we want to play, right? So basically it's a coin flip, whoever wins the dice roll wins the game, and with that not being giving anymore, I think it's good for the game, it's healthy for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you're right about that, but one thing I want to add is if we're talking about generic boss monsters or generic extra deck monsters to be more specific, then I ask myself, where's IP and where's SP on this ban list? Because if you go down that route, SP and IP are definitely more powerful in my opinion than Appaloosa. Appaloosa was, you could play around Appaloosa. That was definitely possible. It wasn't a Nomni negate, and you could play around it, but with something, I mean, it was obvious that SP wouldn't get a hit. It gets a reprint in the tin, of course they don't ban it, but if we talk about generic extra deck or boss monsters, IP and SP should be something they should consider for the next ban list then.
Yeah, maybe they will see a hit on the next ban list, or maybe in 2 or 3 ban lists, but eventually I also think they will get hit, because they are also too generic and they are being played in every deck, and I think that's what Konami is working on right now, to stop cards like that.
Definitely let us know what you think about the Appaloosa ban and what you think about IP and SP. Alright, next up, Hot Red Dragon Archfiend King Calamity. I mean, we already talked about, or we've seen it in past ban lists. Konami wants to like have a more interactive game, stopping floodgates and something, and I mean, what bigger floodgate is there than Calamity? It just stops your opponent's turn totally. I mean, we have similar cards. We have Cosmo Neos, who basically does the same thing. We also have Duo King Caligula, I think it's called, or something like that, rank 8, which you can Raid Raptors get it out pretty constant. They basically do the same thing. I think the big problem with Calamity was that it's for synchro decks, it's way more easy to bring it out, and with something like the Bestial engine in game, it was way too easy. Bestials provide the trap to quick synchro in your opponent's turn, and they provide the Dark Dragon monsters you need, so yeah, definitely probably the most easy one of those to get out, and big hit definitely for Red Dragon Archfiend, but I think this was designed for Centurion.
Yeah, so the Calamity and also the Runic Archetype is just one of those cards that make me flip the table, so I'm so happy that this card is gone. And yeah, not much to add to that, I'm just very, very satisfied with this hit. Eva coming back is an interesting one, because the Tritron Archetype just saw support in the info set, and now Eva is also a card that can be played by Tritron, so I think you might see some Tritron decks at your locals again, and I haven't played much against Tritron, so I can't say if that's a good thing or not, but it coming back to 1 is, because it's a specific card that not many decks can use, is okay to me.
Yeah, I mean, you have those cards like Diviner of the Herald who can just send it from the deck, so 1 is enough. You don't really want to see it on his starting hand, I think. But the very interesting thing is that the monsters you can add with the effect. You have those Herald monsters that are basically hand traps you can just add with Eva. So very powerful card, and I'm excited to see what Tritron comes up with, because I agree with you, I can't think about much other decks or any other decks that are meta relevant that can do something with it except Tritron. Alright, and here we go with Snake Eye Ash on 1. We finally got some Snake Eye hits. I mean, okay, in the past we had Linkuriboh or also Barone. That was a indirect hit for Snake Eyes, of course, but finally they get a direct hit in their own archetype, and it was definitely necessary just to crack their consistency, but I think it only basically cracks it a little. I mean, Ash and also Poplar are very important for the deck, but personally I don't really understand how you can just not hit Flamberge in any way. I think Flamberge on 2 would be, if you had Flamberge on 2, it would be a decent hit. I don't know how big this impacts Snake Eyes actually.
Yeah, I think Snake Eyes is still gonna be a top tier deck for sure, but I think the Flamberge is only being played once or twice in the Snake Eye deck currently anyway, so hitting it to a 2 or to 1 wouldn't have made a big difference, so I think the Ash hit is way more important here, and yeah, so I think it was a good thing to hit that card. Alright, next up we have Snake Eyes Poplar. Also a good hit in my opinion, similar to Ash, not that much to add, other than I think now that some Snake Eye combo pieces are on 1, I might see Snake Eye as a small engine in other decks, that you play it in Fire King for example again, or in, I don't know, some other decks that people will come up with strategies, but I think this makes it possible for Snake Eyes to be played in as a small engine in other engines.
Well, I'm not that sure about that actually, because I mean I don't play Snake Eyes myself, but in the end it's 4 cards that are missing. I'm not sure if they will just like throw in more hand traps, something like that, maybe bump up their Flamberge if they only play 1, play 2. You know, Flamberge also helps you to recycle, so Poplar and Ash can be played more than once like that, so you can just recycle them. I really don't know what they will come up with, but I think it didn't break Snake Eyes, or those 2 limitations didn't break Snake Eyes at all. It's still a top tier deck in my opinion. So yeah, nice they started hitting it, but there could be more. Alright, next up we have number 40, Gimmick Puppet of Strings. Now this is kind of funny to me, because I remember how everyone was hyped about the new Gimmick Puppet support, and it was treated like, oh, this is going to be meta, this is going to kill everything, and I know about the FTK that can do, but I didn't ever see something about the Gimmick Puppets that would frighten me. I mean, you have Nightmare in the branded deck, that was the most contact I had with the Gimmick Puppets, so I'm kind of confused about that, but maybe I just didn't play against the right opponents, but yeah, I'm not really sure if this was necessary in the end.
Yeah, I think the Gimmick Puppet FTK is still possible, since these cards are only limited. It's just harder to get it out now, so we'll see what this hit does. Yeah, then we also have a Gimmick Puppet of Dark Strings on 1, for the same reason with the FTK. Yeah, I don't have much to add, because we already discussed it with the last Gimmick Puppet hit we just saw.
Alright, next up we had something that was a surprise for me actually. Branded Fusion now on 1. I think every branded player will hate Konami for this one. Obviously the best card in the deck. I just kind of wonder why they didn't hit Sanctifier, because the lock was actually the most annoying thing about the deck. I mean, I don't like playing against branded. I mean, okay, there are worse decks, but I'm excited they finally get something, because branded is something that just is very good for a long time now. They also get constant support, so it was necessary in my opinion that they get hit in some way or form, but actually branded Fusion on 1 surprised me.
I think it's not justified, because I liked playing against branded, I never had a problem with it. I always thought it was a fair deck, and it was very interactive and stuff like that, didn't have many negates. So to me, I always liked having the branded matchups, and hitting branded Fusion to 1 is, in my opinion, not the right hit. They should have hit Sanctifier, so they cannot get out the Gimmick Puppet lock, because that one was super annoying. And that was also a throw the table kind of card, and I just don't understand why they did not hit that, but hit it Branded Fusion instead. Makes no sense to me. Konami, please change that in the next ban list again. That was a mistake.
Well, also Branded Fusion is easy searchable in the deck, And yeah, I don't really understand that, but I'm still glad Branded got any hit.
Alright, next up we have the Pot of Prosperity. In my opinion, one of the best hits in this ban list, because this pot was just too freaking overpowered. You could play it in any deck. Most decks you could ban 6 card out of your extra deck and it was not a big thing to you, like it didn't hurt you at all. So this was basically pick 1 out of 6 cards for free, and it was, in my opinion, way too overpowered. It had to go. Even Tenpai could use it because they were still able to inflict enough damage to do the OTK. So I'm very, very happy with this hit.
I mean, yeah, if I think about some decks I play, for example Ninjas or Altergeist, they just need more than 1 card to start their combo. So Prosperity was perfect for that, because most of the time you'll draw in 1 of your combo pieces, Prosperity lets you add the second one, and here you go, full combo turn 1. This is now not really possible. I mean, if it's limited now, it will be probably something you build your deck, you have your engine, you have your hand traps, and if you still have your, a 39 card, then you'll add Prosperity, maybe. I don't even know if it's worth it if it's limited now. And if you compare it to like its counterpart, Pot of Extravagance, banishing 6 random cards is already a huge risk for a lot of decks. Okay, you draw 2, but you can't choose those cards. So that in mind, the Prosperity limitation is definitely a good one and understandable. Alright, next one, That Grass Looks Greener. Yes, I think Telemans played this card a lot. If it's on 1, I don't really know how it will perform, because, you want to play a 60 card deck if this card has or should have any use, right? And how are you going to search for it? Okay, Thrust. But now, search for a Thrust in a 60 card deck. Like, get this one out. And maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there's a huge searcher I don't know or something like that. But I think if this one's limited, I'm not sure it will do much, actually.
I think it will do a lot, because when it was at 3, you still were playing a 60 card deck. I don't know if a Thrust was there yet when the card was still being legal. But if, let's say, it was there, so it was 6 cards that you were playing basically as Grass Looks Greener, and in a 60 card deck that was still a small chance only to draw into these. But the ban was for a reason. It wasn't just like, oh, we don't like this card, we're gonna ban it. No, it was banned because it was overpowered. So now it being back to 4 basically with Thrust, I still think it's gonna create problems. I've played against it in Master Duel, and every time this card comes up, it is very strong, especially in decks like Telemans, and most decks do profit off dumping cards into the graveyard, so I think this card might become a problem. We'll have to see.
Yeah, definitely, but searching 4 with 3 Thrust out of 60, we'll see. I think limited is fair. I mean, more than limited would probably be a problem. I don't think it will do much. You have a chance to get it, and that's fine.
Alright, Sangan Summoning, also in my opinion a very needed hit, because just make your monsters untouchable in the main phase and the battle phase. Like, what the hell? This is not the game we wanna play. We wanna play an interactive game, and if you cannot react or do anything to what your opponent is doing, then the game is no fun. And so in my opinion, a very needed hit.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, this card basically makes Tenpai straight up unfair. Having no interaction with the deck in the main phase, in an OTK deck, you kind of have to rely on your field and have to rely on that it stays there. So definitely needed hit. I'm very happy. Alright, opening of the Spirit Gates now on 1. This is actually the only Yubel hit we got, and I'm surprised about that. I think the new fusion monster, the monster negate, I don't remember the name actually now, I think that would have been one that could have been limited or semi-limited at least. Hitting it only with opening is kind of a surprise. I think Yubel should have had more hits. Of course, opening on 1 is a problem, it's a searcher, but regarding the hit Snake Eye had or Tenpai had, Yubel might actually be better after the ban list than before.
Yeah, I think so too, because they also still have Nightmare Throne to search their combo starter, so the hit is only a small one on the consistency. I think this might make Jubel the strongest deck after the ban list. Alright, next up we have Skill Drain. Skill Drain is like the other Floodgates, goes and match, and there can only be one and stuff like that, now limited to one. I think it makes sense with the way Konami is approaching the game right now, making it more interactive. And this is, by the way, also a Jubel hit. We just forgot about that when we talked about the Jubel hit with opening of the Spirit Gates. Jubel was also playing Skill Drain, but I don't think it is a big hit for them. It doesn't hurt them as much, and so I still think that Jubel is gonna be on top of the tier list.
Yeah, I totally agree on that one. Floodgate, just as you mentioned, so yeah, makes sense it's limited. Alright, next up we have Tidal, Dragon Ruler of Waterfalls. Now that was a quick one, from being banned to being limited to being semi-limited. Quick one on that one, and yeah, I actually can't say much about it because the only deck I think about or I can come up with in a second that plays those would be Armed Dragons, actually, and they're powerful there. But I think Konami has something planned there, you know, bringing back all the Dragon Rulers to 2. We just got the
Plays Supreme Dragon Ruler.
exactly, the rank 7, so maybe they're planning something, you know, like more Dragon Ruler support coming up.
Yeah, basically all the Dragon Rulers are back to semi-limited, so we can go through them at once. Tempest is semi-limited now. Then we also have Redox, same limited, which is in my opinion the worst of the Dragon Rulers. And then we also have Blaster back to semi-limited. I think the coming back to semi-limited makes sense because they were only banned because of the meta in, I don't know when that was, like 10 years ago or 15 years ago, when the Dragon Rulers were really strong. And now bringing them back to 2 is fine because they're not seeing much play in any decks. I've heard that maybe Tenpai is profiting off of them now because that could be a going first variant for Tenpai now, but we'll see how that develops and with what strategies people will come up. In my opinion, for sure, okay that they come back. Then we have the Lunar Light Tiger. Lunar Light Tiger was limited before, now it's semi-limited. Didn't do anything when it was limited, so I don't think it will do much now that it's semi-limited. We'll see, time will tell, but for now this is not a big change in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree, nothing to be worried about actually. Yeah, and then we have Thunder Dragon Colossus, and also one that was funny on the last ban list, like people freaked out about Colossus and all the ways it was easy to summon, and Protoss was a thing back there, so how easy can you get out Thunder Dragon Colossus now, and oh, it's so overpowered, and I didn't see it once. I think was, again, big talk and nothing really happened, and okay, you know, bringing it back to 2 is kind of a thing, because playing around 1 Colossus is one thing, but playing around 2 is of course harder, but I think the only deck that really profits from this is Thunder Dragon itself, and Thunder Dragon doesn't really do much in the meta actually.
Yeah, I also think this is not a problem that it's coming back to semi-limited. I've seen Thunder Dragon Colossus once at locals, and that was in a deck. I don't remember what the deck was, but it wasn't like a meta deck, it was some rogue tier type of deck, like something Dark Magician Thunder Dragons or something like that, some crazy strategy that did not really work. So yeah, I don't see this card being played in any type of meta decks, and therefore it's not gonna be a big impact on the current meta.
Alright, next up we have Ib. Also a card that was limited on the last list, now semi-limited. Okay, I don't really get the fuzz about this card anyways. I mean, it helps you extend in some very specific plays in my opinion. So, yeah, but it's the same thing with all extra deck monsters. I mean, except some exceptions, playing 1 is enough. So I don't think semi-limited will change anything. They could have also just unlimited her at once, in my opinion.
I don't have much to add to this because I've never played against Ib, I've never seen it, so yeah, nothing on my end to add here. Armageddon Knight. Armageddon Knight was semi-limited, now it's completely free basically. You can play 3 copies now. I didn't see it in the meta or at locals at all when it was at 2, so I don't think that will change anything now that it's at 3. There's just no decks right now that get this card consistently out and profit of it, so no problem here.
Yeah, I mean, the effect is actually powerful. I mean, dump a dark monster from your deck, pretty good. But, and it's also not, don't has to be normal summoned or something like that, but most of the time you will have to give up your normal summon in order to get this effect, and I don't think many decks can handle that, so won't be a problem at 3.
Alright, next up we have the Magic Spectre Unicorn. This card is basically a support for any Pendulum deck, but Pendulum decks are not being played at the moment, so this coming back to 3 is no problem at all in my opinion.
Yeah, never played against Magic Spectre actually, don't know what the deck does, so I also can't tell what Kirin does for it, so yeah, might be good. Alright, next up, Perfomage Plushfire. Well, one of those cards that got an errata and is now playable. I think with the errata it won't do that much, so yeah, it's okay to be back. Alright, next up, Red Rose Dragon, a card that makes me wonder why it was limited, I think. Yeah, I mean, I play a Rose Dragon deck, and in the Rose Dragon deck, Red Rose Dragon is decent, but yeah, it being back to 3 is definitely okay. Great for the Rose Dragon, but Rose Dragons are not relevant for the meta at all, so yeah, that's fine.
Ancient Fairy Dragon just got a reprint in the Rarity Collection, and now everybody has access to it because it's a cheap card now, but it's still not being played whatsoever at locals, so this coming back to 3 is okay in my opinion. It is a strong card, has a strong effect, but since it doesn't see much play, I don't see a problem with this coming back to 3.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the destroy field spells and add a field spell to your hand, that's great actually, but I think the decks that can play Fairy Dragon won't profit that much of it, so yeah, it's fine on 3. Next up we have Denglong, First of the Yang Xing. Actually, it's one of those cases, just like Ancient Fairy Dragon, you know, when do you play 3 copies of something in your extra deck, so that's pretty rare, let alone that, but the only thing I can think about the Yang Xing cards is that you can make Blackwing Armor Master basically unbeatable. I think there is a Yang Xing monster. If you use it for a Synchro Summon, the monster is unbeatable by battle, and with Armor Master being unaffected by other card effects, that makes Armor Master pretty great. But I honestly can't tell if Danglong does add to this strategy in some shape or form. But yeah, that's the only thing I can come up with those cards.
The good old Time Seal. Time Seal was at 2 or 1, I don't know, but now it's at 3 and it didn't see any play, and it's way too slow as a trap because it would affect the opponent only in his second turn, not in his first turn. So yeah, now no problem there to put this card back at 3.
Yeah, I mean, if you really have space for 3 Time Seal in your problem, you have bigger problems. I mean...
Yeah, there's definitely way stronger cards to play.
So guys, that's it for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed. This was our discussion of the ban list, but don't forget to let us know what you think about the ban list. We're always happy to read your comments.
Yeah, that's it. See you guys in the next video. Peace out.